All right. Good morning, Jason. Let's have a little dirty laundry today.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel the same without that bizarre radio voice. It's just necessary.
How you doing, Jason Marlowe?
I'm doing well. I've had an interesting couple of days. How about yourself, John?
Good. This is John Dingfelder, WMNF. You're listening to Down and Dirty. We're here every Friday morning from 10 to 11, giving you the down and dirty stuff, what's going on in the Tampa Bay area. This morning, we have Irene is answering our phones. Good morning, Irene. We appreciate your hard work. And if you want to call, we'll probably take calls about 25 minutes after the hour at 813-239-9663. I'll give you that number a little later. Okay, appropriate for today, we have two fantastic guests to talk about Labor Day. And they're not here to talk about beaches and sunshine and picnics or anything. We're here to talk about labor and the labor movement. Good morning, Steve Simon.
Good morning.
Welcome back.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Steve Simon is the chairman, czar, president of the Amalgamated Transit Union, ATU, representing City of Tampa workers. And we have Rob Crete.
Yes, Rob Crete. Yep. Nice to be here, John.
And Rob is president of
the Hillsborough Classroom Teachers Association. That's our local teachers union.
CTA, Hillsborough CTA. Been in the news a lot recently.
Fighting the good fight, getting down and dirty, as you say, with the Board of County Commissioners and trying to make this district better for our students and employees.
Yeah. Now, if you couldn't tell by Steve and Rob's voices, they both hail from, let's hear it, guys.
Brooklyn,
New York.
Brooklyn is in the house.
Brooklyn is in the house.
Some refer to it as Planet Brooklyn.
Brooklyn's changed a little bit.
Yeah, just a
you
little
guys
bit.
actually have a basketball team and all sorts of stuff up there. Anyway, Rob, welcome. Steve, we've had you on the show.
Our returning champion.
Returning champion previously. But Rob, welcome for the first time. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You grew up there in Brooklyn. When did you come down here to sunny Florida?
Yeah, I grew up in Canarsie, Brooklyn. That's the south side of Brooklyn there. I came down to go to the University of South Florida with the direct intent to go to the College of Education and become a teacher. It was something that I've always enjoyed working with kids.
Go ahead, you can say it. Go Bulls. Right?
Go Bulls, go Bulls. And I've enjoyed my experience at USF.
We got Bulls. Jason's a Seminole, and I'm a hardcore Gator.
Oh, boy.
I don't know where.
Covering lots of bases.
I don't know where Steve lies on that category.
I think Steve's still on Planet Brooklyn over there. So I did a classroom teacher for 24 years here in Hillsborough County.
What subjects?
Mostly English, mostly in middle school, and then 4
Now
years
that's
in high
ironic,
school.
sort of. Brooklyn and then English.
And I'll tell you what.
What's he trying to say?
I'm just saying that when I go back to Brooklyn, my friends were like, "What happened to your accent?" And I'm like, "It's still alive and well." They're like, "No, sir."
I interrupted. I'm sorry. 24 years in the classroom.
Yeah, 24 years in the classroom, and before I got elected to represent the classroom teachers and the support professionals of our district, and this is the biggest challenge of my life, really, doing this work for the employees to really help kids. So I miss the classroom mostly every day, but we're fighting the good fight, getting down and dirty with the district and the state whenever we have to.
So is it a full-time position? I think it is for both of you to represent your coworkers, right?
Yeah, with 20,000 employees in the district, I'm a full release president, and it keeps me pretty busy every day. More like a whack-a-mole kind of job.
Wow. So, Jason, leading into this morning, I was doing a little bit of research on Labor Day. This one was kind of fascinating to me. Okay, 200 years ago in 1824. Is that 200 years, isn't it? Yeah.
Listen, Charlie Miranda was around.
200 years ago in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, 101 women walked out of their clothing. I don't know if it was a factory or just sewing or whatever they were doing, but they were making garments, and they walked out for labor reasons. That was the first known labor activity in this country, organized labor activity. They walked out. I thought that was pretty cool. In 1925, Pullman workers organized, and the reason they did was because African Americans were not allowed into the other unions, railroad unions. So the black workers on the Pullman cars organized about 100 years ago. I thought that was kind of neat. Back in 1955, unions across America were at their strength. What percentage? Anybody got a guess from me? What percentage of all American workers in 1955 were members of a union or protected by a union?
40%?
75%.
I'll say 50.
All right, Jason, right on. You've been 35-40% is the estimate. 1955, labor was at its heyday. Unfortunately, it has dropped since then to about, anybody?
I mean, I can tell you what the Florida numbers are.
No, nationally.
10%.
10%.
Yeah.
And, but I do believe, and you guys can tell me more, that it's on the rise.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No doubt. Since the pandemic, especially, it's been growing. There's been a lot of strike activity. People are realizing that they need somebody to negotiate on their behalf so that they can get what they deserve. And so that has caught momentum, and we are growing at a very, very rapid pace.
Yeah, a lot of high-profile organizing like Amazon and
Starbucks,
the service industry, I think, in a big way. How about teachers union? I remember the teachers strike. Rob, you and I may be closer in age. The teachers strike back in the
1968.
60s?
That was here in Florida. Yeah, I was not obviously part of that.
But in New York is what I was referencing.
Up in New York, I think it was in the early 70s.
70s, okay.
Yeah. And I think I was in school missing class because of that strike.
Well, we probably liked it at that time.
I absolutely did. Like a snow day that was kept going on,
But so there was. I didn't know there was teacher strike in Florida.
Back in 1968 is what changed the way we do business here in Florida, and that's what actually allowed teachers to become part of the Florida retirement system once we came out of that off of that strike.
So let's drop back to the core issue.
Yeah,
is why do we need unions? Why are they relevant today? I mean, maybe they were relevant a long time ago because they had to protect workers, and ultimately the 8-hour workday came along, and now we got the federal government stepping in and protecting workers supposedly on the 8-hour work week, a workday, excuse me. Also, safety issues used to be very, very big for unions, but now we've got OSHA. So why are unions relevant and needed today, guys?
Well, go ahead, Steve. I was going to just say that we need to protect what's left of the middle class. I mean, it's evaporating in front of our eyes. We have political machinations out there that are trying to kill the middle class. They only want two kinds of the workers and the CEOs. And we are at the forefront of protecting really families in America. And then I would say and argue that we do a lot more than just negotiate contracts. We're on the right side of social issues of what's going on at least for my job, what's going on in our classrooms. We work way beyond the contract to make sure that we're trying to create the very best learning and teaching conditions for everybody involved, because we know when we have strong public schools, everybody benefits. So, Steve?
Yes, we definitely are needed because, for one, wages have not kept pace with profits. And although these companies are having fantastic profits, they're not sharing that. They're not sharing that with who is actually making that work, which is the workers.
Now, Steve, you represent. You both represent government workers. Steve, you represent City of Tampa workers. Of course, Rob, you represent teachers. Steve, let's start with you in regard to, do you see a discrepancy between the wages that your folks earn doing the actual work, digging the ditches, making sure the waterworks are working and the sewers are working and, all those things as compared to management at the city?
That's a good question.
You took a deep breath on that one.
Is that a hot potato?
Well, I have to say, and I have to give props to our mayor, because she worked with us with our contracts that we've negotiated over these last 6 years. And she has been extremely good to us.
Okay.
She does value us and appreciate what we do.
Well, she probably started as a union member as far as being a police union.
Yes, absolutely.
So maybe she appreciates it a little bit more.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
so how about management versus the straight classroom teacher, Rob?
Well, no one goes to become a teacher thinking they're going to get the salary of a CEO, and it maintains today. But I think that everybody would agree that every teacher out there deserves to have a livable wage, to be able to have a roof over their head and put groceries and food on the table. And that's becoming a real struggle nowadays with the salaries that we're offering. We fund public education.
Give us examples, because Jason and I both taught. I taught 20 years ago. Jason maybe 10 years ago. 7 years ago.
8.
We both were proud members
teacher
of,
union reps
of our teachers union.
We had Nadia Combs literally in just that chair, a little over a month ago, talking about this exact same issue.
Yeah, but I have no concept of what teachers start at. What they step to along the way. Give us some sense of that.
Well, the Governor DeSantis recently funded the first-year teacher salary to go up to and be a minimum of $47,500 in the state. So that created a real problem, really, because he didn't offer other dollars. So all of the money that we were getting from the state for salaries had to go to the first-year teacher salary. So in Hillsborough County, for example, the first-year teacher salary was $47,500 for your first 8 years of teaching. We call that compression because we didn't have any more dollars to put anywhere else on the scale. Veteran teachers, people that have been, dedicated their careers and lives here in Hillsborough County, were not getting any kind of raise because all of those funds had to go to that first-year teacher salary.
Wow.
At that point, we brought the salary from $36,000 to $47,500. Today, it sits at a robust $48,000 with very little discrepancy between the first year and the seventh year. Maybe a couple $100 here or there.
So you start as a teacher and then you kind of flatline.
You flatline,
and you got to go get a job at Burger King or bag groceries or something.
I remember my last year teaching. This was in Palm Beach County. I worked with a teacher who was retiring after 30 years of service, same school. She had never left the same school. I was 27, 28 at the time. So she had taught at this high school for longer than I had been alive. Her thank you from the district was a plastic water bottle and a plastic clock radio.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, like it wasn't even like Radio Shack. It was like direct from Temu or something. It was really disgraceful for 30 years of continued dedicated service to the same school, same community.
We're 50th in the nation in Florida for teacher salaries,
50th.
and that's just awful. That's not right. And as they boast billions in surplus.
For a frame of reference, Rob, how many states are there in the country for our listeners?
50. Yeah, last I looked, even as an English teacher, I know there are 50.
So that would put us in
Jason,
fact
you taught
at last.
social studies?
Yes, I just wanted to be clear. Just for our listeners, if you aren't aware, when he says 50th, that does mean last in the country. Like Guam, we're approaching territory status.
So, in response, somebody, Rob, is proposing is it a millage tax or a sales tax?
Yeah, it's a millage referendum, so it winds up being a property tax. Approximately $100 for every $100,000 that your home is assessed for, and it will go towards salary for the support professional. The bus drivers, the cafeteria workers, the teachers, the support professionals. Everybody's underpaid. We have 500 teacher vacancies in our district. It's the most in the state of Florida. We have thousands of kids out there today that don't have a classroom teacher, like a certified teacher. They're being dealt with either with a sub or somebody just coming in and covering their classes. And we have to do something about that.
And to put that in perspective, I was told just yesterday, and maybe you can confirm, Pinellas' teacher shortage. So to compare it to a neighboring county of similar scope and scale is 180. Now that's in part because Pinellas has much higher wages than we do. So it's like, think about that, like, we have a 500 teacher vacancy. They have 180.
No, I think they have 180 total vacancies. I think
exactly.
Just teachers are a lot less than even that
really?
number.
Oh, wait, that includes
I'm just
support
talking about
staff.
just teachers. I'm not talking bus drivers and everyone else. So, yeah, that's just the classroom teachers.
That's much worse. That's so much worse.
It's way worse.
That's so much worse.
Board member Nadia Combs, when she was here a couple of weeks ago, she made reference to the fact that a lot of teachers do see something brighter on the adjacent counties, and they can easily pick up and move to Manatee County, Pasco County, Pinellas County, and get more money. Is that right?
They'll make about $10,000 more. And John, I can tell you, I taught a bunch of different middle schools here in the district. Kids are kids. So when you're a teacher and you want to affect and positively help kids, helping them in Manatee is going to give you that same intrinsic reward as it will in Hillsborough, except you're going to get $10,000 more.
And your cost of living potentially is less.
Might be a little bit less.
On the south end of Hillsborough County, Manatee County sends postcards to our teachers. Hey, come on, come teach with us. My wife got one.
Wow.
They didn't send one to me.
Is she considering it?
She is not considering it. No, she's sticking around Hillsborough, and she's a great elementary school teacher at Lewis Elementary. But strangely, they didn't want to recruit me. They didn't want the union president from Hillsborough.
So
no troublemakers allowed. Jason, you had some thoughts this morning about this issue.
Well, I mean, I think the great concern for me, and I think for so many folks who either work in education or previously worked in education, and I'm sure, and I'll sort of pass this to Stephen as well, is with the recent Senate bill that has basically helped force the decertification of unions that aren't meeting appropriate thresholds. I believe it's 60%, which is kind of a silly and arbitrary requirement.
I wanted to talk about that.
Standard.
That's been in place about a year. What impact has that had on you guys, either of your unions or other unions that you've heard about?
Well, I can tell you off top, City of Clearwater was actually decertified.
Wow.
I immediately put information out, to my people, letting them know that we don't want that to happen to us. Because without a contract, nothing is guaranteed. So everything that everyone likes about their job, the pay, the benefits, the holidays, pension, all of that is negotiated in the contract. So if we get decertified, we can't negotiate all of that. So you're an at-will employee.
Right. So even though they might not be super active or anything like that, you tell them the importance of at least being a member so therefore you can be at the table to represent them.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you said that, because now I'm going around and I'm telling all of my people, don't wait until you think I need you. Okay, because when we have people retire and we have people get promoted into professional or supervisory positions, they usually come out of our pool, and so our percentage goes down. So we need to have the mentality that everyone needs to be a member, so this way those activities don't outpace us maintaining well above our 60%.
Has that decertification issue hit any school unions around the state?
Many.
It was meant to cut us right to the bone, and we were, the governor was touting that he killed teacher unions, but gladly he did not. The members and the employees of our district responded quite along what Steve's saying, is that not only do we help members when they have problems and they have a work-related issue, but we're on the forefront of fighting for what's right and what our workers need. And that's really why unionism is on the upswing, John. And we started on June 30th of last year. We had about 9,000 members. On July 1st, when the law was enacted, we went down to 0 because we were unable to collect dues using payroll deduction. So we had to have all of our members rejoin, and that was difficult, arduous. However, we're up to 8,000 members already, and we're still growing every single day. So we're very proud of that.
I mean, to your point, I'll just say quickly because I know we have some calls, but 8 unions representing adjunct professors here in the county were recently decertified, including Hillsborough County Community College.
And I believe those HCC folks are severely underpaid. All right, Carol, you've been very patient. Let's see if we can bring you in all the way from Lake Placid, out on the edge of the radio circle that we broadcast to. Good morning, Carol.
I love your radio circle. I listen to it all the time, probably every single program.
Well, we love you, Carol. Good morning.
Anyway, I appreciate your subject. I retired from Palm Beach County as a paraprofessional, coming up from a bus driver and working through. I never got my teaching degree, but I used to do aftercare and, schools, stuff like that. So I do appreciate your talking, and unions would not have helped. I mean, if I hadn't been part of then it was IBF&O, International Brotherhood of Firemen and Oilers. And now I think it's, I don't know why we got looped in there, but I'm glad we did. SEIU now. But so unions, I mean, we fought to get people interested in unions during when I, worked, and there was such little interest, and I was so happy and proud of the gentleman who led it and tried to, get us more interested in unions. Anyway, I'm digressing. This morning I was half listening, and you got me when you said back in, whenever they had the walkout, the workers walked out of their clothing. But you were saying clothing manufacturing?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, 200 years ago in 1824, Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and I apologize if I said they walked out of their clothing because it was 101 women. But anyway, they walked out. They were doing some types of clothing manufacturing, and they walked out. How about that? 200 years ago.
Well, I do remember that, and they didn't fare well after that because their employers and everybody, it was a sad story, but it was interesting. So anyway, I just wanted to thank you for the subject. I'm going to listen more closely now to see if you have any other pauses that are something
we appreciate your call. We appreciate you listening. Have a great day.
I appreciate Carol being a paraprofessional for 30 years.
In
That's
Palm
awesome.
Beach County,
Thank
where
you.
I used to teach.
There you go. All right, David. David in Tampa, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning. One thing I'm tuning in a little bit late, but I was curious if y'all talked at all about the lawsuit by the book publishers against the state of Florida for some of this culture war BS that we're dealing with.
Wow. I hadn't even heard about that.
I'm not aware of this either.
Yeah, have you heard about that, Rob?
Yeah, some of the book publishers are suing the state of Florida on the book bans that are happening in pockets across the state, and I really don't know where the case is. That's pretty much all I know right now. But I think it is indicative of what's really happening in Florida. That at first we were looking to get rid of a lot of books, and then people started scratching their
Are
heads
these like
saying,
instructional material providers?
no,
Like,
novels, the actual books that they produce.
what?
The books that they want banned out of schools, the publishers are pushing back on. And, the public is really, it's being driven by, the public, because this is just a ridiculous outcry of what's happening that is a non-issue. When kids are walking around with cell phones every day with the World Wide Web available for them, I'm sure that the Diary of Anne Frank is not going to be hurtful to them in any capacity.
Listen, I think the voters, to a point we were making before the episode, I think the voters kind of made their voice on this particular issue rather loud last Tuesday in rejecting DeSantis went 6 for 23 on school board nominations in the primary. Yeah, 6 for 20. He has 5 that are in primaries that will be decided, or not in the general election that'll be decided in November. But if you shot for 6 for 23, coach is pulling you off the court. Like, you're not continuing to get shots at 6 for 23 from the field.
So, Rob, were all the elections decided for school board in Hillsborough, or do we still
all
have
but one?
All but one.
Which
yeah,
one?
Number 7, that would be district wide. There were, I think, 4 or 5 candidates.
Who's it down to now?
Lynn Gray.
Lynn Gray and Karen Berndorf, who is the Moms for Liberty supported.
Oh, that's right.
candidate in that race.
So that was the gentleman who everybody thought was going to do really well.
Johnny Bush. He did not do well. He ran a very poor campaign.
What was he?
ran by poor
Principal
campaign
Johnny
people.
Bush.
Yep.
And he didn't make. He didn't
Nope.
make.
He finished 3rd.
Yeah, that was surprising. I mean, just because I heard a lot about him, and everybody in South Tampa seemed to like him, and this and that.
Got to hire good campaign people.
Yeah.
Johnny's a really good man, but it's a county-wide seat that he was running for.
Okay. All right. So it didn't happen. So let's jump where we are today, Steve. 2024. There's, anybody who watched the Democratic convention had a very strong union presence. I don't remember seeing that for the last 20 or 30 years that I've been watching conventions. I think one night in particular seemed like it was union night. How'd you feel about that? And
Invigorated.
Yeah.
And yes, like we said earlier, unions are on the rise, and we are, as our fearless leader, President Schuler said, the state of the unions is battle ready. So everyone's Project 2024 needs to be to fight to make sure Project 2025 never happens.
There you go. And when you mentioned Schuler, is she AFL-CIO
Yes.
president?
Yes.
Okay. How about NEA? I think I see that president as well up there?
Yeah, so that would be Becky, and we're right behind Kamala for president, and we're very We're very encouraged by Walls as VP, being a union member, a teacher. He just seems real to all of us in our field, and it's really invigorated teachers and support professionals.
I was going to ask you, I mean, everybody talks about Coach Walls, but I was going to ask you, I mean, I knew he was a teacher, but I was going to ask you, were he and his wife union members?
Absolutely, yes. So that's exciting for us. We're hoping to see him at our state convention in September here in Florida.
I want to piggyback on something though on Stephen said, because I did take some time to look into research the numbers on union statistics. You had mentioned that nationally we're at 10%. Mm-hmm. In 1983, that union membership in the nation was 20.1%. So that's down half in the last 40 years. And here in the state of Florida, 4.7% of Florida's workforce are union members, one of the lowest rates in the nation, according to recent data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is from an Axios article from January of this year.
But the South has never been strongly unionized. I was walking into this building with one of my coworkers, and I said, today's show is going to be about labor unions, and she's a Southerner, and she said, that. I said, were you ever in the union? She goes, no, that was sort of a Northern thing. Steve?
Well, we live in a right-to-work state.
Yeah, which is a really strange
right to fire.
Well. Yeah. Really, all right to work means is that you can work a union job without paying dues.
Yeah. So
that's
you're a
it.
scab.
But, you should want to show your appreciation for all that your union does for you by paying dues and supporting and being active.
I mean, it's all about solidarity, right? It's like not just about thinking about yourself. It's about thinking your coworkers who are working in your field every day with you and caring about their family in the same way you would expect them to care about yours. But I mean, I do want to piggyback on something else. We talked about union membership here in the South, which is just a beautiful segue for me. Brightline, a different company, obviously, across the country, but Brightline West in 2023.
What is Brightline?
So Brightline, for those who don't know, is the high-speed rail, or technically it's not really high-speed rail, but the rail company that is trying to improve rail transit across the country. In 2023, they announced a partnership with 13 craft rail unions for the development of the rail line that's going to connect Southern California and Las Vegas. This was, again, February 2023. Article in the Orlando Weekly literally 2 days ago. Brightline Passenger Railway, Brightline Florida, hires union avoidance lawyers to discourage organizing workers. They hired Littler Mendelson, who is famous for these anti-union videos.
Union busters?
Yeah, they're literally union busters. Okay. And so I just want to talk, at least, or let Stephen speak briefly to how does right to work affect how a company will go work in Las Vegas and California and make sure they're working hand in hand with labor. And then a company will come to Florida and think, how can we find ways to exploit working people?
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I'm a walking commercial, so everywhere that I go, I'm always promoting union, I mean, the union has done my family fantastic my entire life, and that's over 35 years of working. So, I'm always going to encourage, to become a part of the union and to be active, I consider myself trying to teach everyone, because if they understand the validity of having a union and what its role is, they would gladly become a part and participate.
Well, and that's hopefully why we celebrate Labor Day ever since 1882. If you're just tuning in, this is WMNF. You can catch us, you've caught us probably 88.5. This is John Dingfelder. We're down and dirty. Jason Marla. We've got Rob Crete, who's president of the Hillsborough Classroom Teachers Association, and Steve Simon, who's president of Local 1464 ATU, representing City of Tampa hardworking employees. So, guys, AFSCME, what is AFSCME? Help me.
The American Federation of State, City, and Municipal Employees.
Okay, are you guys part of AFSCME? Or?
No, that's another union.
Okay, so anyway, I read somewhere this morning, this was a little article by an AFSCME person, and I thought it was kind of what you're talking about, what we're all talking about. But I'm going to read it if you don't mind. It says, people know and understand that life is better in a union. They know it means a bigger paycheck, better health care coverage, a more secure retirement, a safer workplace, and a lot more. Strong unions mean more vibrant communities and a healthier democracy. When you belong to a union, you have a boss. You're not under the boss's thumb. You have the power in numbers to make change on the job. And when unions thrive, when we can stand together to improve wages and working conditions, everyone benefits. I thought that was beautiful. Kind of right what we've been talking about this morning.
And we have billionaires out there that are sending mailers to union members all the time that drop their union membership. And union members will bring them right to the union hall and say, like, look what I'm getting in the mail. And I'm like, think about, why would billionaires want you to drop your union? What do they have in it for you? Why? They're looking out for your best interest. I promise you, your union has your back. We're doing everything we can for you, both with your contract and beyond, every single day. And we're on the forefront of fighting for the strong public schools that our kids and teachers really deserve to work in.
So why Kamala? It started, I think, with Joe Biden. Another article I read said Joe Biden was the first president to walk a picket line, and he said FDR probably was another super strong president advancing labor's cause. But he said that it's clear that the Biden administration fought for laws giving everyone the right to organize for better pay, benefits, and working conditions, advancing the bargaining rights of public sector workers, guaranteeing a right to organize for domestic workers, farm workers, and other unprotected workers. The Harris-Walz ticket will keep fighting for that agenda. Is that what brought the unions to Chicago last week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And Biden kind of walk the, what is it? Talk
Picket
the talk
line.
and walk the walk, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And
maybe the most union-friendly president of our lifetime that we've seen. So we're very proud of the work that he's done for us in his 4 years, and we're looking forward to doing the work we can to get Kamala elected.
But Jason, the Teamsters were noticeably absent from last week's festivities, and I don't know what the Teamsters represent in terms of, the percentage of all nationwide union workers, but they're, it's still a strong union. Why weren't they there?
Well, I mean, obviously what the president did, and I know he's taken a lot of flack for sort of, I don't want to say he endorsed Trump, but he sort of came out at the RNC as we're here to play, open-minded to both sides, what have you.
The president of the Teamsters.
Yeah. But I did want to sort of piggyback on something that you guys were talking a little bit, in the sense that, most pro-union president, when you hear a guy like J.D. Vance go to firefighters union in Boston and basically tell union members there, quote, what the hell do you have to lose for supporting Trump? What's sort of your response to that? And what do union members have to lose with a return to a Trump presidency?
Wages, working conditions, due process, all the great protections that they have, as well as a voice in what they're doing in their job. So that's exactly what they have to lose. And
so everything.
Everything.
If you want to join the conversation, we're talking Labor Day. We're not talking beach. We're not talking sunshine. We're talking the American labor movement and how it impacts you and everybody else here in the Tampa Bay area. If you want to join the conversation, 813-239-9663. I'd really love to hear your story about how labor or union has impacted you in either a positive or a negative way. Give us a call, 813-239-9663. Irene is there waiting for your call. Rob, this is the first time you and I have met. I knew some of your predecessors, all good, fine people, hard workers, and strong. How long have you been in this post of president?
So this is my third term, so I'm beginning my 7th year in this role.
Okay, well, I apologize for not meeting you sooner.
It's quite all right.
Yeah. So did you jump straight from being a CTA rep, or were you on the board, or how'd that work?
Well, growing up in Brooklyn, my family were strong union members, supporters. So as soon as I came...
What did your folks do?
Well, my mom was working in a school as a bookkeeper, so she was a union member. She worked on some campaigns for those that were pro-union. And
Give us an example of a mayor that she worked with.
Well, she worked with Chuck Schumer in Canarsie, Brooklyn. Okay. And in my role, when I got to go up to the Capitol,
Senator
I mentioned,
Schumer,
yes, very good. And I got to meet with him and told him, and he's like, yeah, well, what school did you go to? And I'm like, PS 115. He's like, you're a Canarsie boy. Come on in. He knew right away. So family was always union. So the first thing
he came out on the stage last week, and he was sort of doing a strange dance. And I was thinking to myself, us guys, as we get older and older, we'll start, white guys start dancing like that. It's not pretty.
It's not pretty what I do either, but I still enjoy it. So I'm going to keep doing it.
So what? Your dad was also an educator?
A police officer, yeah. So and he was in the union as well up there. So when I moved to Florida, my family couldn't believe that it was optional to be in the union. Wow. And as Steve mentioned, the right to work state. So the first thing I did was join my union. Became a union member. And then really, my first few years, I'm just learning how to be a teacher. You learn a lot of it on the job. I wasn't really active with the union work, but they always had my back. And then I became the rep for my site, was on the board of directors for the union. And then when my predecessor was retiring, she asked me to run for this role. And I never thought that I'd be elected by my peers, because I'm just the guy that calls it as I see it. But here I am doing this and trying to fight the good fight for the work that everyone's doing in the classroom. Because I believe that when I make work for the teachers, it helps the students in every capacity.
So actually, I have a tough question. We're going to get a little down and dirty for a second here.
Let's do it.
So, state of Florida obviously has been precipitously anti-labor, unless you're a firefighter or a police person, because those two professions have done an exemplary job of making sure their lobbyists get them carved out of every single anti-union legislation that gets passed in Tallahassee. So, at a certain point, obviously they're supposed to be
first responders, so it's
But, obviously there's supposed to be union solidarity, and I'm curious if there's I don't want to say tension, but is there issue or discussion amongst union faithful with the idea that two folks in our supposed circle are not, are wolves among us, kind of, to some extent. If you're not looking out for all unions and you're just carving out protections for yourself, you're not exactly being a member of the union.
So I guess your underlying question, Jason, is: do these guys get in a van with PVA and the firefighters union and ride to Tallahassee together?
Yeah, to some extent, is there what conversations and discussions are there going in relationship to I don't want to call it betrayal, but these folks doing what they can to carve protections out for their unions at the expense of teachers.
Because this is radio, I'll give you the visual. Steve Simon is smirking a bit.
Well, you really have to deal with with the City of Tampa Fire and Police. So I figured I'd let you to speak on that.
Well, I've had conversations with their leadership, and asked them to help, with what our agenda may be. And they did, participate and do all that they could. But it still is what it is.
Yeah.
A little bit of everybody out for themselves.
Yeah, they get carved out. I wouldn't say that they're doing the carving. The lawmakers are. The lawmakers do it because they think it's in their best interest to be reelected. They're pro-police or pro-firefighter, and quite frankly, so are Steve and I. Yeah. We both believe in the work that they're doing, and they're underpaid overall as well.
Listen, we all love first responders. But at the same time, if you flush your toilet and it's not working, because these people, are messing up or something, or, that's a first responder. If your water doesn't turn on, that's a first responder. If your kids show up at school and there's no good teachers there, that's a first responder.
Yep.
Why don't we consider all that as well?
I just want to piggyback on what you said.
I just want to high-five you across the table right
in
now.
relation to first responders, because we do have in our department first responders for the city of Tampa. They're just not acknowledged by the state. So I just wanted to put that out there because I'm working towards getting them acknowledged by the state.
Yeah, maybe I didn't say it right, but that's kind of where I was headed.
And I would also argue, John, that the work that the people that I represent are first responders for our society as well, with the needs of our students are growing, and classrooms are different than they were before the pandemic. And one thing that we learned through the pandemic is how important it is to have teachers and get those kids in classrooms in front of them. So we would argue that we're first responders of a different sort.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll say, to piggyback off what Rob's saying, it's not even just the teachers, right? It's bus drivers, it's mental health counselors,
Correct.
It's guidance counselors, it's folks that are helping look out for the mental health of these kids, helping prepare them for better futures. And all of the people who help make our structure of society work. Public sector employees are a huge part of all of the things that you take for granted in your daily life. I can assure you are in some way likely brought to you by a public sector employee who takes their job pretty seriously.
All right, let's see what
That's how we came up with our slogan. We keep the city of Tampa running, because that's a collaborative of all of the departments within the city that in essence do keep it running.
Mm-hmm. Now, but then you got to sing it too. We keep you running. Yeah.
Do you have to sing it?
No.
Welcome to karaoke at Down and Dirty.
All right, Carl from Clearwater, you're joining the conversation on Down and Dirty. Good morning.
Good morning. Ex-union president calling.
Thank you.
I think unions, for decades, they need to do a much better job educating the workforce on all the benefits people enjoy that are the result of unions fighting for workers' rights. And my other comment is, one thing I've noticed over the years is union workers seem quick to vote for benefits in lieu of cash. And I think union members need to take a real hard look at giving up, wage increases for benefits. And that's all I got.
All right, let's see what these guys think about it. Carl, thanks for listening. Thanks for calling in. And thanks for your service for your union. What do you think? What do you take of what he says?
Yeah, I think Carl's is onto something. And what we do in our local union is that we have a committee of over 60 members that get together that represent every nuanced job that I represent to make sure that we're all at the table discussing what we could actually bargain for. Because that is the most power that we have is collective bargaining. We really try to let our members understand the process, what we're asking for in advance, and then we communicate with them around the entire process of what the district is countering with and where we're headed and what we want to ask for next.
You guys both spend a lot of time at the collective bargaining table. Fortunately, for this city councilman, ex-city councilman, we didn't get involved in the bargaining process, although at the end of the day, we did have to vote on that. Steve, bargaining, is that a big part of your life?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It really never ends, right?
No, it doesn't, and I can understand the logic on that last comment, but I don't believe in givebacks. Mm-hmm. I'm only looking to gain. Mm-hmm. And we shouldn't have a problem with that because my people do a good job and they should be rewarded as we have with our last contract.
With compensation and bargaining issues, correct?
And benefits, both. Mm-hmm.
All right, we've got Bob. Oh, excuse me, that's Barb. Hey, Barb, what's going on this morning?
Hi, I'm a retired teacher and a member of NEA, AFT, and the Central Labor Council.
All right, we love you, Barb.
Just wanted to say I'm so proud of Rob and Steve and all the things they say and do for their members and everyone in their profession.
Thank you, Barb.
Thank you.
And I'm also a member of the Alliance for Retired Americans, who are retired union folks who advocate to protect and improve Social Security and Medicare. So when you retire, you can still help working folks in their retirement.
Hey, Barb, let me ask you a question. I hear that the AARP, which I guess recently has been sending me letters, that they're pretty conservative or whatever. So what's this other organization that you belong to?
It's you can look up retiredamericans.org. I guess the story is a bunch of retired union folks wanted to stay active. So they thought a great goal would be to protect and maintain Social Security and Medicare, but it's retiredamericans.org. You can read all these position papers about the details of Social Security and Medicare and prescription drug prices. Just amazing resource.
Did they take a position, at the Democratic convention the other day, or have they taken a position in the national election?
I believe there are individual unions like the AFT or the NEA that have endorsed Harris and Waltz, but the Retired Americans is technically a part of AFL-CIO, but we just work on Social Security and Medicare. Those are nonpartisan issues for everybody.
All right, Barb. We appreciate the call. We appreciate you listening. Have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful Labor Day.
Okay, thanks. You guys.
Bye. So, where does that leave us now? Where do we go? What do we do? You got how many days till the election? Are you guys involved?
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
A rhetorical question.
I'm sorry. Well, I kind of got
Stephen got tired thinking about that.
A little tangent. I've been putting posts out every day, basically supporting the campaign. It's just coming to me, so I got to get the word out.
Well, do you think Florida's in play, Rob?
You saw on the national stage. Yeah. I think every state is in play right now with the enthusiasm that's out there for the candidate. And the teachers union is absolutely very busy right now working on our Vote Yes for Students campaign because we're working on that millage referendum. We need to do better for our teachers and students in this district.
Does that have a number? The referendum
Don't have that yet because we just got on the ballot after our fight with the Board of County Commissioners.
Board of County Commissioners. What's up with that?
Oh, just fascists got a fash.
So the Board of County Commissioners tried to keep this initiative off the ballot. You call it Vote Yes for Students. I see it on your little button there, Rob.
I mean, listen, they thought 4 members of the board presumed to know better than citizens. They think they could make decisions for us, that we can't make decisions for ourselves. I mean, ultimately, right? I mean, like, the beauty of this ballot initiative is if people want to support taxing themselves, they have the democratic right to choose to do so in November. And if they don't want to do so, they can choose not to. It's literally that simple. It is
Who were the black and white dichotomy. The 4 members that tried to take away
Hagan, Wostel, Cepeda, and Miller. See how quick that was?
Look at that. Say that slower.
Ken Hagan, Christine Miller, Donna Cameron Cepeda, and Joshua Wostel.
Yeah.
The teachers of this district are not going to forget those names. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because Donna Cameron Cepeda forgets her own name.
Down and dirty. Where's our bell?
Oh, no. We retired the bell.
We retired the bell. So I'm a little disappointed. I've known Ken Hagan for a long time. I always found him.
Ken a lot.
I like Ken a lot, and I've always found him to be a rather moderate Republican.
I agree.
I was surprised and shocked and disappointed that Ken supported that. You know, I think maybe he was afraid of being primaried.
He was primaried.
Was he?
He defeated his primary with like Gaddafi numbers, like 75% to 25%. But yes, he did in fact have a primary. And I mean, I'll say, like, listen, I think ultimately the discussion has to revolve around the fact that the county commission's role in this job is ministerial. Ultimately, if our Hillsborough County School Board, who are an elected body of government, decide that they want to put a referendum upon the ballot, that's their duty.
That's what the statute says.
Yeah, that's what they should be enabled to do as duly elected members of their own political body of government. It's crazy to me that Commissioner Wostel will decry separation of powers and suggest that he's being made to do something. He's not being made to do anything. His job is ministerial. His job is to just approve it and put it for the voters. If he wants to, instigate against this ballot initiative, that's his right, both as a board member and a private citizen. But it's not his right to tell voters whether or not they get a choice.
Well, at the end of the day, he lost the local judge, circuit judge.
Did. Someone should let him know that, though, because at yesterday's town hall, he seems to not understand basic concepts of reality, like you lose, you get nothing, as Gene Wilder would say.
Yeah, so he lost at the local level, then they took it up on appeal to the second DCA, which quickly struck it down.
I mean, really quickly.
Yeah, so we're very encouraged by that. And for the first time, I think in the history, our union lawyers got together with the district lawyers to work together on this and did a fantastic job of making the case. And that's really what we want to do with this campaign. To Jason's point, we want the voters of Hillsborough County to decide this. We want to our campaign is about educating them about why we need it, what it's going to cost them individually, and really why the state has put us in this position to ask them for these dollars, because we all believe, it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican or independent, we all believe that kids deserve fully funded and public schools and have a great teacher as well. That's what this is about.
Are your teachers going to get out there and knock on doors for the next 60, 70 days?
They are fired up, John. They are really ready to do this because
that's what it's going to take.
It's not only about what they're getting, it's about what they're not having in their classes now. Like there's so many vacancies that they're working on their period off. And it's physically and mentally exhausting for them. So the kids deserve better, and that's what this campaign's about.
Yeah.
VoteYesForStudents.org.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say for the record, I mean, you think about what the consequences are. Everybody, regardless of political party, and frankly, at this point, regardless of where you live in Hillsborough County, you are experiencing the growth. We are growing nonstop. It doesn't matter if you're in Odessa or Waimama or somewhere in the city of Tampa or in between. We're not going to be able to handle this growth if the school district is not growing in an accommodating way to make sure that our teachers have a place to work, our municipal workers have a place to live. I mean, like, all of these things are a big core part of whether or not people want to live and grow a family here in Hillsborough County.
Listen, if you're just tuning in, we're talking labor, because if you didn't know, next Monday is Labor Day. But we're talking about labor. We're talking about the importance of the labor movement in this country, in this state, and in this county. We're here with Steve Simon, who's president of the ATU, City of Tampa Workers, and Rob Crete, who's president of the Hillsborough County Classroom Teachers. If you want to join us, we got a couple more minutes, 813-239-9663. Let us know your experience with labor. Let us know your experience in the workforce. Let us know your experience if you didn't have a union and you wish you had. 813-239-9663. We got about 5 more minutes. So, Steve, how about, Rob's people have a reason, a tangible reason. They've got an issue on the ballot. How can you motivate your people to get out and work for the Harris Walls ticket?
Well, through the promotion that I'm doing myself personally, and then I have to give a shout out to all of my people, because when SB 256 came out last year, we basically had from the end of session, which was the end of February, until July 1st to comply. So just those
That's that 60% number we were talking about earlier, right?
Yes, that's correct. And a multitude of other things, too.
Right.
But, I have to give them credit because they got on the good foot and got with us, with the new system that we had to utilize in order to collect dues. And so we maintained our presence, basically, or availability to still represent the employees for another year. So we're good till March. But we're going to start getting our paperwork and everything together now to file on regular track, which is September, so that we can continue another year.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've attended ATU meetings, board meetings over the years, so I've always considered myself a good friend of ATU, hopefully vice versa.
Yes.
I do notice that sometimes when people get comfortable, the status quo is okay, and they kind of say, you know what, our president, what was Martha back in the day, or Steve now, we'll let you guys do the work. We'll let you do the heavy lifting. But that doesn't work anymore, does it?
No, and I do work. I'm a hustler all day, every day.
But you can't do it by yourself.
That is absolutely correct. And that's why I gave the shout out to my people, because, they let me lead them, they followed, and we saved ourselves.
Yeah. Rob?
Yeah, I mean, our people are just ready to do what it takes for our students. And they do that every single day. And even in a state that's fund public education as woefully as we do, they're kicking ass out there, quite frankly. And that's really what they're doing. And we're very proud of the work that they're doing. But we just need more teachers. We need more support professionals. We need more bus drivers. We need more lunchroom workers and so on down the line.
And that's what Vote Yes for Students is going to do.
VoteYesForStudents.org.
All right, we've got Clint.
One last call.
We've got Clint is coming into us from somewhere.
Clint from somewhere. You're on the air.
Somewhere. Where are you from, Clint?
Odessa.
Odessa. Love it up there. I went to Camp Keystone up there in Odessa.
Sorry to hear about that.
What's up, Clint?
I got a quick question. I worked for the electrical union at one time, and nothing against unions, but I was always an entrepreneur and wanted to move up, and I worked and was doing my due diligence, and the union would always tell me to slow down, don't do this, this is what you're supposed to do and produce within a certain amount of time, and this is what you have to do and stuff like that. What do you have to say about that? Especially if you're a business owner and you hire union workers, that you cannot get more productivity, which could actually be done. It's not about the benefits, but it's about slowing down and doing only what you're contracted to do.
So how long did you stick around in that situation?
7 years.
Okay. And well, it's an interesting question. I'm not sure it relates specifically to teachers or city workers. Maybe it does.
It's about union.
You think it's a union mentality? That's your opinion, right?
Well, no. It's not my opinion. It's a question being asked. But my wife also worked for GTE, in which her name's Donna Maggio. Your wife knows her quite well.
Yes, we do. Hey, we've got to run. Let me see if we can get a quick answer. We'll talk to you later. Thanks, Clint. All right, real quick.
Our teachers are working beyond the contract and support every single day. Yeah. But I would always argue, if you're feeling like people are asked not to do other things, put it in their contract, pay them for the work that they're doing, and they will do that work.
Mm-hmm.
I concur.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'll say that with the last few seconds we have, every teacher I've ever known, nobody works just the clock. I mean, people are always constantly putting in extra on behalf of those kids because they know that's what their real job is.
Teaching was the most exhausting job I've ever had. I'd go home, 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I needed that nap.
That's right. I was doing night school. I would go in. I would be there 5:30 to 3, and then get ready for graduate school 6 to 9.
I think next week is Pledge Week. Is that right?
Or this week. There are weeks that people pledge.
I don't know. But anyway, keep your eye open for Pledge Week. This is Down and Dirty. We enjoyed being with Rob Crete from the Teachers Union, Steve Simon from ATU City of Tampa. Rob says vote yes for students.org. Check it out if you want more information. And we are out.
And I stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition, and yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower and the blood